On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
For any business to drive forward and impress and break that seven figure is sales. You have to get sales. You have to spend time on sales. And you can get lost following the marketing squirrel for hours and hours and days. And is that really bringing you the sales?
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. JD Fuller on the King stage today. My brother, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you, sir?
Doing well, man. You know, we were just having a ball before we hit the recording button here, talking about men's facial hair. Hey. JD's rocking the stash per his daughter's request. And of course, the traditional man beard over here. But I think we could, if we came together, we could be a nice little, men's hairline or something.
I think so. I mean, I'm ready to start marketing some product now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, maybe I'll go out and get some sponsors for this specific episode.
Perfect.
JD, what kind of business do you have, brother?
Roofing and restoration.
Roofing and restoration. And, you know, we were just talking before we hit the record button, how hot it's been in Texas and especially up on the roof. And we're talking about how boiling it is. And you're in it. You're in the business of boiling.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So,
DFW.
That's right. Well, I want to know, at this stage in the game, you've obviously had a level of success. Otherwise we wouldn't have you here. But I want to know why. Like, why have you been pushing to get to this level? And then why do you continue to push even beyond?
So it kind of started out for me when I graduated college. So I graduated, transparency. I followed a girl down to Austin and thought, hey, she's going to Texas State. I'll stay in Austin. And I got a job working in commercial real estate.
Okay.
Fortunate enough to get a chance with a broker that's very small office, but he was one of those guys who basically showed you the way and then lets you take off with it. And I already kind of have that mindset of go from playing college sports and
sure.
Sports throughout my entire life. But while I was there, I was very successful and I was very old school. I was a door-to-door kind of guy with commercial real estate.
Yeah.
It's not the most popular, I guess, way to try to drum up clientele, but I was successful. So the first year I killed it, but I also killed it at partying and money. So everything that I made, I just lost it. And so the second year we hit that 06 to 09 kind of recession. Yeah. So buyers wanted to sell high, sellers were looking for low, and here I was in the middle, not making anything. So so I ended up not making any money at all and ended up going into kind of a family lineage of firemen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in 2010, I got hired on with the fire department and then spent the next, 5 years just kind of licking my wounds from the failures of not making it in real estate. And then after about 5 years, I finally started to try to figure out, entrepreneurship, you could feel it inside. That is always just kind of that itch of like, what can I do? What's this? I'm going to try this. So I tried whittling wood. I started out whittling wood and made some pretty cool signs for some buddies, wedding gifts, stuff like that. And finally I was just like, man, this is a lot of work for
time consuming,
not much reward. So ended up on a just a regular year, I guess, working for one of my buddies doing Christmas lights. And so I did that for 2 years. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to branch off and do my own thing and see how that feels. You know how, whenever you're starting or taking that step into uncharted territory, you get that like nervous ball in your stomach.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
Yeah. It's kind of either a motivator or a decelerator.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I don't know. So I'm making these little brochures, and they're like goofy little like golden pass tickets, like Willy Wonka style.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I ran around a neighborhood by my house, and I probably passed out, 500 of them, and ended up making just raw cash that year about 20 grand. And I was like, whoa, that was it.
Yeah.
So once that
the golden ticket was for you, actually, it sounds like.
Yeah, the golden ticket was. Yeah, it was nice, and still having that fire department income coming in, because we worked 24 hours and then we were off 48. So those 2 days off was, what can I do to make extra money, or am I just gonna take the 48 hours and be unproductive and relax? So sometimes that's what it was, and it was wasted time.
Yeah.
So after that, I kind of started getting my Christmas light company ramped off, and it was seasonal. So that was only October, November, December.
Right.
And I was done, hard cash. I always claimed it to Uncle Sam.
Of course. Always.
But had that going. And then finally in 2017, we had a big hailstorm in Frisco. And I was like, man, I'm going to go try this stuff out. Some other guys have been talking about it. So I went and worked for this company that's now actually a fairly large company. But I was one of their, I guess, 15-ish employees, and did about 2 months. And there was some ethic disagreements on stuff that they did that I don't agree with. And
you just don't.
A lot of my foundation is fire department driven. So it's integrity, service, very, 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 very solid and very hard on those points.
Right.
So I wasn't seeing it. So I left. I started Full Axis, which is my company is FXPro Construction, DBA of Full Axis. And so we started the company, and I started with another guy. We went in and it did really well. Yeah. And then kept going, pushing forward, and ended up, I guess, later on in I think it was about 2018, that when Harvey hit Port Aransas, and we partnered up and went down and worked the hurricane in South Texas. So,
okay. So I'm hearing you say that you're kind of a grit, kind of a fighter, trying to figure it out from working firefighting all the way to obviously starting your own business. I think a lot of folks can relate, to that or some sort of a version of that. Mm-hmm. What's the bigger picture for you? Like, what does entrepreneurship really provide you that maybe being a firefighter couldn't, or anything else for that matter? Like, what, like, you're going to do this for the next 4 decades. Why?
So I actually left the fire service in 2020. So I put 10 years in. The business was running very, very well. We were starting to build a decent clientele, customer base. Yeah. And so in 2020, I pulled the cord on the fire service. I left, and it was a reminder of how failure is, I guess, because it took me 6 months to get used to how to become an entrepreneur almost all over again.
Fully.
Because before I had a steady income coming in. It was, every 2 weeks, boom, there's a paycheck. Boom, there's a paycheck. Boom, there's a paycheck. Well, now I am the paycheck. I don't make money. There is no money. So I actually went into a deeper spot on trying to get guidance and depression, and trying to figure out where I was, just what kind of hole. I let myself go into a deep hole. Interesting. And ended up finding some mentors and some guidance to get out of that. And that's where the spark finally was reignited, to where I knew there's a little more clarity in the picture of what the end game is, and just kind of jumping around in the dark thinking, all right, well, now what?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's so interesting, obviously, that it wasn't just up, right? Like so many times in our stories, that's what a lot of people see, right? From 30,000 feet, they see, well, JD just went up, right?
Mhm.
But he's got this incredible business, but what they don't see is the moment where you just said you actually went into the dark,
Yeah.
and got confused and didn't have clarity. And man, obviously your business was doing well enough for you to leave the fire service, but to be confused in that moment seems almost odd, but it's so true. A lot of times where you really press in, you are basically betting on yourself, and it's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to know, like, okay, so now that you've got a little bit of clarity, you've got some help, you got some mentors, you're obviously on the track. What does the bigger picture look like for you? Why are you building the business?
Uh, you know, it's always, I want to leave the bigger pictures. I want to leave something for my kids to have, something that they can continue on if they wish, but still continue on if that's the bigger picture. The other part of it is because that period when I cut the cord with the fire service and when I started kind of realigning myself to what my clarity and what the goals and what the end game was, is
Right.
something to prove daily to myself that I'm not going to go back there again. So every day is just constantly improvement, pushing forward, not letting that kind of, that monster kind of get in your head and talk you back down.
Yeah. And it's almost as if the monster, does what he wants, right? In your language here, the monster, but you're right. It's like a constant thing. The monster is us.
Yeah.
It's ourselves. It's the voice that says, don't get up, you're tired. It's the voice that says, this is hard, you should quit. Right. It's the same voice that we all hear it.
Fear, it's everything.
Yeah.
Anything
So
trying to hold you back.
yeah, literally. So I want to know, like, this is a very unique topic. We haven't like necessarily come to this a bunch on the show, but since we're here, give us like a couple of things here that you do on a regular basis to keep that guy at bay, or in the closet, if you will, underneath the bed.
Yeah. And for me, it's always been a struggle for keeping a schedule,
Sure.
maintaining the time that I have. I'm excellent at wasting time. I'm excellent at following the squirrel. That's my joke for getting sidetracked, So,
Yep.
So my schedule, that was one of the things that helped bring back the clarity of what I wanted my purpose to be, was my schedule and maintaining the schedule. And I fell. There's days that I don't win the game. I bounce off and I get sidetracked and I follow the squirrel, and it is what it is. But the next day you come back and you rinse and repeat and try to get back on the horse. And
Yeah. How do you take what you just said? I mean, you're talking about your calendar, time management, putting things even just on the calendar, like literally in a calendar, whether it's paper or on the computer, but even just the mindset of calendarizing, putting yourself accountable to certain things at certain times, and then holding to those appointments, even if they're with yourself or with your team or whatever you're working on. For the person that's listening right now, 6-figure business, they haven't scaled to the 7-figure mark yet. They're in the grind. They're probably wearing too many hats. They're probably doing marketing, sales. They're on the job, or, dealing with the client, depending upon what kind of business they have, and doing the finance and doing the book. Like, they're just doing all of it, right? Because they're stuck. They haven't figured out how to quite get past all that yet, or maybe they're in the process of some of that. So knowing that's where they are, how would you suggest that they take this time management piece that you're talking about? What are the couple of key things you can give to them?
So that's actually a great topic, because I struggled for that for a very long time. And that was one of the pieces that held me back, that caused so much confusion, is this hat. And eventually what it came to help reaching the clarity is developing processes and procedures for certain, bookkeeping, certain days. You have marketing. If you're trying to wear it, marketing alone is a huge hat. So if you're trying to do that yourself, you can almost either have to limit it to a few hours a day, or give yourself once a day or twice a week to try to get that completed, because it's just such a massive, it's very time consuming. but yeah, it's the process and procedures and just developing ways to make the little stuff, the paperwork side, run faster and smoother, and it's clean.
Right.
Then it opens up that time for your marketing. It opens up that time to get your bookkeeping, take off one hat, put on another hat, and keep on rolling and keep that momentum driving forward versus getting stuck.
Yeah, 100%. What I'm hearing you say, just to, again, clarify for the listener here, not just the time management piece, but understanding the role or roles. And sometimes where they are right now, maybe they can't hire another person, whether it's lack of capital or they just can't find anybody, or they haven't actually just pressed into hiring anybody. That's a whole nother topic. But let's just say that they don't have anybody else in that marketing role or whatever role we're talking about. You're at least saying you've got to be able to time block that and go, okay, well, I can't just work on the business this week, AKA do it all simultaneously, kind of all in a combustion. It's okay, I'm going to put on my calendar Monday from this time to this time, I'm going to work on marketing. And then I'm going to go to visit the job sites, or I'm going to check in on the clients, again, depending on what type of business you have, from this time to this time on Tuesday. Or is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And in a sense, one of the most important for any business to drive forward and impress and break that 7-figure is sales. You have to get sales. You have to spend time on sales. And you can get lost following the marketing squirrel for hours and hours and days. And is that really bringing you the sales? Is that bringing in your clients? Is that
right?
What exactly you've got to clarify exactly where you're getting your customer base. Is it Is it social media? Is it pounding doors? Is it flyers? I mean, multiple different avenues, but once you figured out that process and where it's at, you can direct a lot of your time on sales, which is where it needs to be in order to get to 7 figures or more.
Yeah, 100%. I think that you're so right. Obviously, you've mentioned time management, which I think is a huge piece. So again, if you're listening right now, you're writing this down. Time management. You got to figure out your calendar. You have to use a calendar. Let's start there.
I have to. 100%.
Number 2, you got to have processes and procedures. Now we're talking about a big thing, right? Like you got to identify the roles. You got to identify each touch point in the business. Who's owning that touch point? What are they saying? What are they doing inside of that touch point? It's a big deal, but you just get started on it. You just start thinking in little sections of time about each little touch point in your business. And is it clarified who's doing what? And then of course, sales. I mean, bro, sales is the name of the game in every business. There is no business without sales. So I want you to write down right now what JD's talking about is absolutely the game changer to get to 7 figures. If you do not have a repeatable sales process, which includes the marketing, right? So you got to get the lead, you got to have the sale, and somewhere in there's a repeatable sales process. And so you've got to hone those things in. I appreciate you sharing those things.
Definitely.
I want to know about a bad decision that you've made on the trajectory to 7 figures that was just detrimental at the time. Like, tell us the story.
Oh, if I told you all about all the bad decisions, that would take weeks. Every bad decision is financially painful, unfortunately. Yeah. But the partner that I chose when I first started the company, it was a bad choice. Very displayed great integrity from the outside down to the core. It wasn't like that. I found out after 2 years, a lot of money that was missing, miscellaneous items that were bought on our shop accounts that he used for personal, and so those are things that he didn't discuss with me or anything like that. So it ended up being a deal where it was a bad resolution financially, but either way, it basically still ended up paying him for costing more money to pay him to remove him from the company to where I had full ownership. Right. So vetting anything, if you're planning on partnering up, vet, and then revet, and then confirm. And I mean, it's like you're getting married, basically. I mean,
yeah. I'm not hearing you say don't ever partner, right? So it's not so much of like there's not value there. You're just suggesting that if you're going to do that, do it in a specific way.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, in business, contracts are the number one for safety reasons, but really on a relationship standpoint, it's almost like getting married.
Yeah.
So you want to have that sit down conversation like, hey, bro, or all right, hey, girl, whatever, however you're going to have the conversation, and sit back and have that conversation about, hey, how are we going to do this? What's your role? What's my role? How are we going to split money? When are we going to split money? I mean, so many different things. It's, other than that, that's kids. You're not going to have kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so the conversation that you're having this is so interesting because obviously vetting partnerships have come up as a bad decision in previous shows. But since we're here and we're kind of talking about the detail of it, I want to take you there. The conversation that you're talking about, what's your role? What's my role? When do we split money? How do we split money? That's not an easy conversation.
No. Remember that gut-wrenching feeling in your stomach? Yeah, that's definitely there.
Because even in the moment of like, hey, you and I are going to do this thing, we're excited. But then when it gets down to that conversation, it just is a little weird because we're talking about money. We're talking about ownership. I've gone through a couple of these here recently in a couple of new ventures that I've partnered with some folks in. And I've even said like, hey guys, so we're ready for the real conversation. This conversation, it might be a little weird. I feel a little uncomfortable. I might piss you off. You might piss me off, but we need to work it out right here in this conversation because otherwise down the road, this is going to be terrible.
It is a must. 100% has to happen. Can't skip it. Don't be scared of it. Do it. Yeah. Especially in a partnership.
Hey, Chaz Wolfe here. As many of you know, I have been on an absolute mission to help entrepreneurs from all across the country in many different industries level up their game and grow their business and intentionally connect with other entrepreneurs. We do that obviously through the podcast, but we also have a peer-to-peer mastermind group specifically for 7 to 9 figure business owners. We are bringing some of the best and most successful entrepreneurs and minds together in a regular and super intentional way to not only grow our network, but to be able to leverage. And at a certain point in business, success becomes about leverage, leveraging time, leveraging resources, leveraging key relationships. This is exactly what we're doing inside of the peer-to-peer mastermind group called Gathering the Kings, specifically for 7 to 9 figure business owners. So if that's you, if you're ready to level up your 7 to 9 figure business even to the next level and get around other big hitters just like you, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com, fill out a short application, and it'll come to an application call with me, and I want to chat with you to see if it might be a good fit. Talk soon. Yep, exactly. That's good stuff. What would you say was a good decision that you made along the way?
Oh, well, leaving the fire service was the best decision. I mean, I couldn't feel more blessed.
Even though you had the dark time, JD? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. The dark time was a lesson in itself.
That's right.
If it wasn't there, it would be weird to not be able to think back and be like, this is what I actually had to go through to get to this point.
Right.
And so it'd be almost like a fairy tale if I was like, oh yeah, man, just got here. It was great.
I left and became a millionaire.
I left. Thank you guys for allowing me to leave the fire service.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So making a huge dramatic jump into betting on yourself was your good decision.
Oh, 100%.
Do you find that same decision, that quote unquote betting on yourself, that comes up more than just that one time? Like, have you had to re-up with yourself again since then?
Yeah, actually as recent as yesterday. So even though we're in the 7 figures, the largest contract that we have signed hasn't been over 400,000. So yesterday we got, in negotiations for another contract that was 850,000. I'm sorry. So with that contract discussion, it was almost like playing poker. I was like, oh man, here we go. Like, all right, I'm using my knowledge and my conversation ability to kind of talk about this product that we're going to put on a roof and what we're going to do and what we can do to offer over, what anybody else is going to try and offer. Sure. And so same old knots in your stomach feeling,
That's right.
Playing poker. It's kind of really how it felt, like you've got the hand, but you don't really know if you're going to win it.
Yeah.
And got the phone call yesterday that we're going to be awarded the contract.
You secured the bag?
Secured the bag.
Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations. I want to know in that moment, the knot, right? Like you're playing poker, you obviously have some confidence, but tell me about the re-upping for you, like you, your partner, your team. Like, what did that look like as you're going through this more than twice the size bid that you've ever put out? And it's almost like you got to go, okay, like, you know, like kind of got to beat on your chest for a second, go, I can do this. And then you walk into the meeting, right? You kind of got to like convince yourself first, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and I'm a mover. So I walk around anyway. I think more clear when I'm actually moving. And so,
Sure.
yeah, it was, fortunately it was over the phone. So I wasn't having to go actually into a meeting where I'm like pacing around, but,
Right.
but yeah, over the phone, and killed it, and, you know, played poker through my hand down, and we won. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
it was amazing. I mean, the knots were still there, the stress, the anxiety. I think that's what makes entrepreneurship even better too, is once you throw that winning hand out and you get the big bid, or you progress past that step of like, holy cow, is this really about to happen sort of thing? You're just like,
right.
Man, that was easy.
Yeah.
Why was I like that? And then you keep doing it again. So you just rinse and repeat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, to put some numbers to what you're talking about. I mean, we're talking to listeners right now who are trying to get $1 million done in revenue in a year's time. And you're talking about signing one contract that basically almost gets you there. Right. I had a guy in Gathering the Kings Mastermind last week, closed a $1.2 million contract. And I'm not even in his business. I was jacked up and excited. I just love winning like that, especially since I know how he's been scaling and he's been doing the work behind the scenes, and him and I talk late night, and it's like, oh man, you know, the moving puzzle pieces of business. And when you secure something like that, where it's like, man, I know we can do this, but it's like, we haven't performed at that level ever before, but I know we can do it, you know, but there's still that unnerving to get it. But then now you got to actually go and like do it, you know. All of this is like new charted territory for you, for him, for other guys that are pressing, doing new deals. There's just a certain level of excitement, at least for me, where I'm just like, dude, I want to be around guys like that.
No. And to kind of even back up a little bit, earlier in the year, we had submitted for a $600,000 contract, and same thing, same feelings, but I lost.
Yeah.
So big gut punch, but at the same time, it's same purpose of keep driving forward. Right. You're worth it. You can do it. Keep driving forward. Take another swing. Keep throwing, you know, keep throwing it up against the wall, and something will finally stick.
That's right.
And yeah, man, it feels great.
Nobody likes rejection, right?
Oh, it sucks.
And to your point, when you got rejected on the 600K, that's difficult to keep going, and then have the confidence to swing on an 850. Like, that's even bigger. Going, oh well, we didn't get I mean, maybe we shouldn't even try. Maybe we shouldn't put it out there. You know, like so many different things that monster is telling you, right?
Oh yeah.
And you freaking take a swing at it anyway, and you lock it down. Now this moment becomes one of the cookies in your cookie jar, as David Goggins says, right?
It is
a thing for you to be able to pull out in the future and go, no, I freaking did that, you know?
Here's my picture. See?
Yeah. And I've got a story to write along with it. JD, I want to transition here to our speed round. I'm going to come at you in a couple of different angles with some questions. I want you to take your business, and I want you to dwindle it down to one trackable metric. If you can only track one thing forever and ever going forward, what would it be?
Time.
Okay. How so? Give me some ideas around what that means to you.
Well, the reason I say that is because I struggle with time management. Even today, I struggle with time management. I mean, honestly, let's say yesterday I was preparing for our meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
So I was like, what did I do with my time? And I'm like, where's my calendar? I spent the whole morning. I was like, what the heck? So, but yeah, so just
JD was ready for the podcast yesterday.
Hey, you've got to keep working on it until you perfect it. That's right. That's how it goes. So I still struggle with it. And, but that for me has been the game changer on being able to understand my time and utilize it the most effectively that I can.
Yeah. And for your team as well, right? Because how can you lead them in that way if you I mean, you don't have to be perfect in it, but you gotta have some motion in the right direction if you're going to teach somebody else how to do it, right?
Definitely.
Unless you want your team running around like a herd of cats.
Yeah, it's bouncing off the wall.
Yeah, man. That's how I felt dealing with salespeople forever, years and years, dealing sales teams and building sales teams. I would tell people it's like herding cats. But there's an art to it, and it can be done. So what book would you recommend, JD, for a 6-figure business owner to read?
So I've never really been great at just kind of sitting down and reading, but what got me out of kind of my dark hole that pushed me towards the success that I'm working still towards is the Brendan Burchard High Performance Habits.
Yeah.
And that's actually, to this day, when I feel like I'm struggling with my time management, his calendar that he has is still what I use. And I've been using it ever since. I kind of slack on it sometimes, but I still, when I feel that, I go back to the book. I'm like, hey, I need to get back to my core on what got me to where I was, that pulled me out of the rabbit hole. And I was able to start chasing my dreams and pushing towards success.
And doing the thing. Yeah, I think just for a quick half second here for the listener, we all do this. It's human tendency to do something that works and then leave it.
Oh, geez.
Hey, I do this one action and it gets me great results, so let me figure out something different. I don't know why we do it, but we do. But for you to be able to recognize when you've left it, and then to have a place to go back, a home, a core, I think is huge. And we need those for everything, right? Our mission, our values, our team itself, books, individual people that we can, collaborate with. We need those sounding boards, if you will, to be able to come back to, because we do stray. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any way to not stray, although obviously discipline and habits are as we build those things, help to keep us from straying, but we're still human.
Right. Yeah. Even with signing that contract, I kind of took a step back and I was like, oh, I think it's time to relax and kick it back a little bit. And then the back of my mind is like, nope. I trained it. Yeah, I've trained it now. Like, that's not what you do. Keep going, keep pushing.
That's right. That's
all
right. So, yeah, and you've got to have that, because those success moments, man, they'll, I don't know. I remember a quote. I don't remember who said it, but it basically, champions don't exhale. You never see a champion go, because that's when you go whack, just get hit right in the face, so you got to stay on guard. I'm never, that sounds like, somebody's going to hear me say this and I'm going to get eaten up, in the podcast comments or something about, that I don't know how to relax or rest or whatever. Look, I don't think that's necessarily what I'm saying. What I'm saying more so is that champions are always on it. They're not resting on their laurels. They're not resting on what I did yesterday. Right. Is that, would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly don't think that not being able to relax is a bad thing. I think that's a very common trait in high performers, because they always say you got to be able to shut it off, but shutting it off also allows you to see the squirrel. So
right,
if you're staying on your game and you're per se, I guess, not relaxed,
right,
you're still shooting a straighter line instead of that zigzag incline, or a strong dip and then trying to come back up. So
that's right.
I think
perspective.
I see it as an asset person, but
yeah, no, it's huge. I think that coming from two different, because you and I have different perspectives. I'm going to be a little bit more lean towards time management as a skill set, where you're like, oh, I got to keep coming back to that. And so if you now, as a listener, hearing two different personalities talk about the benefit of this, I think it makes that even more powerful. JD, tell me what you think about intentionally networking and or masterminding with other entrepreneurs.
So in the past, I used to think, I'm not going to do that. It's kind of a money scam sort of thing. Sure. Oh, you guys just want your money. Now that I'm joined a mastermind that's around here in DFW, and then I go to different networking events all over. If you're not doing that, then you're missing out on really huge breadcrumbs. Yeah. And really even more so the guidance, the the success stories, the failure stories, everything that we've discussed today, you hear those stories in networking groups with other businessmen, with mastermind groups, with even if they're at your same level, everybody at some point has had that struggle or is going through that struggle, and you can have advice, you can provide advice or receive advice to kind of push yourself faster, build faster momentum.
That's right. Yeah. Been a huge, the speed. I mean, it doesn't have to be just about speed, but yeah, speed's a huge benefit. Again, around other people who can give you the nuggets. What would you do, or how would you use, if you could only have 1 hour each week to work on your business? What would you do, or how would you use that hour to successfully run your business like you do now?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I would actually, what I've been doing, the gym. The gym has been the greatest place for me to network. Go to the gym for an hour. I've signed multiple contracts from my relationships that I built at the gym. So
Interesting.
So for me, it's a great networking tool.
Sure.
If you're not networking, if I'm going to spend that hour, networking is, I got to do it in sales. You want to try to make money.
Right. Right. Grow the pipeline. Okay. Last question here for you, brother. JD, if you lost it all, it's all gone, what would you do?
I'd do it all over again.
You're just crazy enough that
you got the confidence to do it again.
That's right. That's right. What would you say to the listener right now who's in that dark place like you were whenever that was before? They know that they've got it inside of them, but maybe they've been stuck for years. Maybe it's been a couple of months and they haven't lost it all, but maybe they feel like they've lost it all. What would you say to that person?
I would say that one step forward every day is better than taking 2 steps back. So constantly thinking to yourself, what can I do today to just make today a little bit better than yesterday? And eventually that clarity, that hole is going to shrink up. You're going to start to see a little bit clearer. You're going to feel the purpose of what you're wanting your end goal to be and what your direction is. And that's what worked for me. And just being able, and it's a trained mindset to where always taking that step forward. No matter if you get punched in the face 3 or 4 times, what can you do just to end the day, one thing to end the day with something that's moving you forward, even if it's going for a walk, mentally, just going for a walk, just to gain the clarity and just keep the forward momentum going, even if it's dark.
Yeah. The 2 principles that I'm hearing you hit home on deep throughout this whole show, but persistence and then, the clarity or definiteness of purpose is how Napoleon Hill calls it in Think and Grow Rich. And I would say that you're spot on for the listener where they are in their business, right? If you don't know where you're going, if you don't have an obsession of where you're going, right? So you got to know where you're going, and then you got to be obsessed about it. That's definiteness of purpose, or the clarity that you're referring to. Mm-hmm. So you got to spend time. You got to spend time thinking about what that actually looks like, what your future looks like. What is it that I want? And then why do I want it? And why do I want that? And why do I want that? And why do I want that? And you just keep asking yourself why over and over until you really figure out what you think that you're made for, or at least to be able to take that next step for today, for tomorrow, like you're saying. Which then the second, the persistence is just take another step. Yeah. Always, it's action. I got to be action oriented. But I have to have a long game in mind, which is I'm just going to take one more step. It's like I'm lost in the desert. Well, I can either sit here and fry, or I can take another step towards what I think is survival. Yep. And there's futile. The story is futile if I stay. It might be futile if I keep going. I don't know, but the persistence to keep going, pressing through. I'm hearing both of those. You want to add anything to either of those?
Yeah, essentially, I'm a big believer that we have the ability to focus on positive or negative. You hear it all the time in podcasts. I listen to podcasts all day, but I'm a big believer that positive and negative. So if you're taking that leap and you're taking just one step, half a step, anything that just forward, that you can start to train and retrain your mental thought space to be positive versus negative, that's where the clarity starts to open up, and you kind of start to see, oh, here's this road or here's this road. I'm gonna take this road because this is what I'm feeling right now. This is the spot. So boom, let's take that step.
Yeah, you're 100% right. When you know that clarity or the definiteness of purpose, it is actually then how you make decisions. It keeps you from the bad decisions and it propels you into the good decisions. Obviously, we're still all human, like we talked about earlier, but the reality there is that if you can continue to press in based on what it is that you've said that you want, the clarity, then we should be making good decisions. JD, how can the listener find you, connect with you? Maybe they're in your area, maybe they're not in your area, but they got to get to know you. How can they find you?
Facebook, Instagram, FXPro Construction. I have both of those, Facebook and Instagram. JD Fuller on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, but I wouldn't call that.
You're not really there. You're there, but not there.
For me. I probably need to go back and do some work on it, but either way, remember what I was telling you about? You got to pick where you're going to spend your time.
That's right.
That's in it. So I push that to the side and wait till the moment comes, and I'll fix it then. So.
That's right. Well, I hope that the listener has gotten, I know that they've gotten plenty from you. I hope that the guys that got plenty from you, or even maybe the ones that didn't, they at least look you up so they can see your mustache. At least.
I'll take a picture and post it today.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a picture of this podcast right here. Hey, I was a mustache and a beard together on a podcast. It doesn't get any better. So.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get the camera out.
Yep. Here it comes. So here's what I want to leave with. I want to thank you for your time. You are the epitome of what it means to just jump, start something new, be all over the place, and like be struggling, but yet still figure it out. And so I just know that if guys like you and I can do it, the listeners can do it too. And there's nothing really that special about either one of us, but at the same time, man, we're doing special things. So I just so appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. We wish you nothing but success, blessing on your family, your businesses, all that fun stuff. Thanks for being here.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.